Hi, I'm Jason Parsons. I'm the executive chef at Peller Estates restaurant. I kind of wanted to have a little chat with you today and hang out with Lawrence. How you doing, buddy?
Good, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, Happy New Year. I kind of want to tell you a little bit about what we do here because we're pretty proud of the fact that we're surrounded by some of the greatest vineyards in the world. And but what the big hidden gem is the Icewine. You know, it's getting cold outside. I'm sure. Have you shoveled your driveway yet?
No.
No.
I just drive like a big truck. I just drive over it.
Yeah, well, see, I have a nice little sports car, so I have to shovel.
Exactly.
But the thing is Icewine is one of those things people know a little bit about, but not enough. You know, they're always talking about, is it the dessert wine? Well, it is. It's a great dessert wine. It's a sweet wine that, you know, captures all those, you know, great flavors. But what we've done is we want to show that it's not just a wine that you pair with desserts. So if you've got that bottle of Icewine and you really don't know what to do with it, you know, I think cooking with it is a great option. You know, a lot of people think, what should I do because it's so sweet? But ice wines in Canada and you know, of course Niagara, they're so balanced. You know, you go from our Cabernet Franc ice wine, which has got those fruity notes, the strawberry, rhubarb, but then you go to a Riesling ice wine, it's got quite good acidity. People don't realize that. So you can actually cook right into it. We do things like poached lobster. You know, lobster's got a little bit of a sweetness. We all love that sweetness. But if you take a little bit of ice wine and just lightly poach the lobster, it's going to bring all the sweetness out of it. It's not going to make it sweet so you're eating ice wine or lobster for dessert, but it's just going to bring out those natural flavors. So it's a great wine to cook with. One of the best things when you're thinking about pairing ice wine is, you know, it's kind of like the same thing with any wine, is you want to watch the balance and the intensity. You know, you're matching those two flavors. So you could actually complement, so if you're doing a dessert, you know, you've got a Vidal ice wine, your occasion Vidal ice wine is like liquid creme brulee in the glass, like it's just beautiful. So you want to match it with something that's quite sweet, quite rich. But then if you go to the Cab Franc ice wine, it's got the strawberry notes, maybe then you want to go something that's more like on the red fruit. But even going into savory, you know, we do a tuna tartare. Tuna tartare is spicy. You know, when you get something that's really spicy like that, you need to kind of watch that heat. If you pair it with an ice wine, the sweetness going with the spice balance each other off, and next thing you know, you've got this great flavor going. Well, Ice Wine Festival's coming up. You know, I mean, we've got the whole, we do the roasted marshmallows. You've eaten how many marshmallows in your lifetime?
I don't know. Here, probably more than my fair share.
We do a marshmallow that's flavored with a reduction of ice wine. And I always worry that he gets mad at me because I take all of his beautiful ice wine and reduce it down a little syrup.
I wonder why we make more and more and more every year. It's because you keep feeding to the cheese, eh?
That's right. But we go through almost 3,000 marshmallows in a 3-week period. So that's unbelievable. But the dinner that we do, you know, I mean, I call you and say what wines you want to do, and then you go from there, right?
Yeah, no, it's been, it's a lot of fun to do it that way.
But what's great about our ice wine dinner is we don't pair every dish with ice wine. You know, it's either paired with it, or it's cooked with it, or we just take the profile of it. You know, we get excited about something that's in there and then go from there.
I think that's, I mean, it goes back to the philosophy is that, you know, ice wine is not only just for, you know, consuming at, you know, having a glass at the table, but cooking with it, and that, you know, obviously it opens up more options for us at dinners and stuff like that to have an opportunity to pair different wines that have similar flavors that would work. So yeah. It is exceptionally versatile. You can do anything you want with it. I think just as you were saying before, just to have with dessert that's something I think we should push aside.
Yeah.
It is something that you, I know it breaks everybody's heart, as you said, you know, to pour it into a pan and poach lobster in it. But that being said, it works. It works great, and it brings out flavors that you would never think that would be there.
Yeah, and I think it's funny how, you know, people think of it as an expensive product. I've been lucky enough because our ice wines, you know, you should be proud of the fact that they're all over the world. I mean, we have them in Chicago, in New York, in London, England, and I've gone to work with these chefs. And I remember being at Gordon Ramsay's in New York and saying, you know, he was doing a pork belly. I'm like, wow, you know, it was great. But I'm thinking, why don't you take like an ice wine and marinate that and really sweeten it up? And first of all, I think he looked at me like, you know, I know what I'm doing, you know. But the second thing was like, ice wine, you know how much it is? And I'm like, yeah, but how much you spend on a bottle of balsamic vinegar? Or, you know, on some truffle oil or fresh truffles? And yet they just think of it as they go to the sommelier, can I get ice wine? And the sommelier looks at them and goes, you guys can't afford that, and just turn away. It's not that expensive if you're using it in the right way. So it's kind of changing people's mindset about it too. So this cheese I want to tell you a little bit about because I find it's really interesting. I'm proud to be Canadian, but I was born in England, and so Stilton is, you know, blue cheese, and you love blue cheese too, right?
I love blue cheese.
Yeah, and so
Just looking at this makes me.
I know. Well, let's just move it over a little bit. But one of the interesting things is everybody talks about wine and cheese. What a great combination. Well, if you really get down to it, if you're drinking wine and you go to cheese, it's fantastic. But if you go to cheese to wine, you cannot taste the wine. The cheese will kill it, if it's a good cheese. So I wanted to try to find a way to get a blue cheese to work with wine, and this is a Saint Benoit. It's a Benedictine from the Saint Benoit Monastery in Quebec. It's got a great flavor to it, but if you eat it, the palate will linger too long, and that's what we always talk about. You always tell me, you know, you got to watch that lingering palate, right?
Yeah.
So what we've done is we'll scoop out the size of a shot glass, just in the center, and we'll feed it Riesling ice wine. And I always joke because we have it in the fridge, a bottle of ice wine next to it, and we're topping it up, and I have to make sure that the chefs are topping up that and not themselves. But in the first week, we'll get a full bottle, but it'll take another 5 weeks to get the second bottle in there. So we get 2 full bottles in a 6-week period. And what it does, it follows the veins, and it doesn't make it a sweet cheese. All it does is, again, it's balance. It's all about balance that we talk about, is it rounds out the flavor of the cheese, so when you enjoy it, it finishes short on your palate. So we've nicknamed it Blue Ice. It's a bit of a signature here at Peller, and it's a great cheese that you can use. You know, you can get all the flavor of blue cheese, but it doesn't linger, so it doesn't kill the wine.